What is the length of the rectangle and the area of the center pink circle? Label B, D, O, A and E. Join line OB, line AD and line EB. Let the radius, r of the pink circle be r and angle O equals alpha. It implies that line AD equals r minus 2 and line AO equals r. From triangle AOD, r minus 2 divided by r equals sine alpha. We call it. From triangle BOE, line EO equals the sum of 2 times r and 5. It implies that line EB divided by line EO equals sine alpha. Thus, 5 divided by the sum of 2 times r and 5 equals sine alpha. We call it equation 2. Equate equation 1 and equation 2. It signify that r minus 2 divided by r equals 5 divided by the sum of 2 times r and 5 which equals sine alpha. Cross multiply and solve for r. Expand brackets and we have that the sum of 2 times the square of r, 5 times r, negative 4 times r and negative 10 equals 5 times r. Combine like terms and simplify. It implies that the product of 2 and the square of r minus 4 times r minus 10 equals to 0. Divide the equation by 2. Thus, we have that the square of r minus 2 times r minus 5 equals 0. Use general quadratic equation formula to find r. Hence, r equals 2 plus or minus the square of 2 plus the square root of the product of 4, 1 and 5, all divided by 2. Simplify and we have that. After simplification, we have that r equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 24, all divided by 2. Thus, r is not equals to 1 minus the square root of 6. Therefore, r equals 1 plus the square root of 6 in units. But, line OE equals the sum of the product of 2 times r and 5. It implies that substitute the value of r in line OE. Thus, OE equals the sum of 7 and the product of 2 and the square root of 6 in units. By Pythagoras theorem, the square of line OB equals the difference between the square of line OE and the square of line EB. Substitute values. The square of line OB equals the square of the sum of 7 and the product of 2 and the square root of 6 minus the square of 5. Expand bracket. Combine like terms and simplify. We have that The square of line OB equals the product of 4 and the sum of 12 and 7 times the square root of 6. Find the square root of the equation and we have that. The length of line OB equals the product of 2 and the square root of the sum of 12 and the product of 7 and the square root of 6. Let the length of the rectangle be L. Thus, L equals the sum of 2, length of line OB and 7. Hence, L equals the sum of 2, the product of 2 and the square root of the sum of 12 and 7 times the square root of 6 and 7. Simplify. Therefore, the required length of the rectangle, L equals the sum of 9, the product of 2 and the square root of the sum of 12 and 7 times the square root of 6 in units, or 19.7975 units to 4 decimal places. For solution to question 2. Area of a pink circle A equals the product of pi and the square of r, where r equals the sum of 1 and the square root of 6 in units. Take pi to be equals to 3.14159, thus, area of a pink circle A equals the product of pi and the square root of r, which equals the product of pi and the sum of 7 and 2 times the square root of 6 in square units. Therefore, required pink area equals to the product of pi and the sum of 7 and 2 times the square root of 6 in square units, or 37.3817 in square units to 4 decimal places.